Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. We're traveling straight back in time to 17th century England to unpack an absolute epic of a historical mystery. We're going to witness a totally bloodless revolution that didn't just change the course of British history, but literally laid the foundation for modern democracy, which means it actually affects how you and I live today. Okay, let's dive into this.
So how exactly did a sneaky king, a secret treaty, and a completely surprise baby change the way the world is governed today? I mean, it sounds like the plot of a Hollywood movie, right? But this is 100% real. The stakes we're talking about couldn't be higher. And as a bonus, hidden inside this wild history are secret Latin codes that we are going to crack together at the very end.
Okay, so our story kicks off with sheer, utter panic. Just imagine living in a country that suddenly has absolutely zero leadership. A really powerful guy named Oliver Cromwell had been ruling England for a while without a king. But when he passed away, his son, Richard, took over, and well, Richard just wasn't cut out for the job. He couldn't manage the army, he couldn't manage parliament, so after just a few months, he literally packed his bags, abandoned the throne, and quit. Naturally, England was terrified. The people were so scared the country was going to slide right back into a bloody civil war or end up under harsh military rule.
Seeing this massive disaster looming, a general named George Monk marched into London and offered Parliament a pretty simple solution. Let's just bring back the royal family. But before the exiled Prince Charles actually returned, he issued a formal document called the Declaration of Breda. He needed to ascertain, or make absolutely sure, that peace and freedom would actually return. He promised to forgive his enemies and play nicely with Parliament. And thanks to those promises, he rode back into town in triumph and was crowned King Charles II in 1660. But to really wrap your head around the wild drama that happens next, you've got to meet our two main characters. These two brothers would end up pulling England in totally opposite directions. First up, we have King Charles II, and then we have his younger brother, James II, who was next in line for the throne.
So, King Charles II was known as the Merry Monarch. He was clever, witty, and extremely flexible. On the surface, he played along nicely with Parliament. But his brother James? He was the exact opposite. He was known as the stubborn king. He was totally uncompromising and openly wanted absolute, unchecked power, just like the King of France had. He completely ignored Parliament's advice. Now, remember how I said Charles was flexible? Well, maybe a bit too flexible. Deep in the shadows, he was making a seriously sneaky deal. In 1670, Charles made an incredible secret agreement called the Treaty of Dover. He actually accepted huge bags of money from the King of France, and in exchange, secretly promised to change his entire nation's religion when the time was right. When Parliament eventually caught wind of these tricks, they were furious. They gave absolutely no credence, meaning no belief or trust whatsoever, to the king's promises ever again. What happened next was basically a massive, decades-long tug-of-war for the future of the whole country. On one side, you had the kings pulling as hard as they could for absolute power and their preferred faith. And on the exact opposite side, you had Parliament pulling back with all their might, fighting desperately for control and to protect their own beliefs. It caused deep anxiety across the entire nation. And Parliament didn't just sit back and take it, they counterattacked. In 1673, they basically held a magnifying glass over every single government official by passing a super strict law called the Test Act. If you wanted to keep your government job, you had to physically certify your faith in writing and show your religious credentials. Because of this, James, the king's own brother, actually had to resign from his super high-ranking job in the Navy. The tension was literally reaching a boiling point.
Eventually, Charles passed away, and the stubborn James II took the throne. True to form, he immediately started bypassing laws to grab that absolute power he always wanted. But Parliament didn't panic, not right away at least. They had a secret backup plan. Just wait it out. They were absolutely certain that when James eventually died, the crown would naturally pass to his eldest daughter, Mary. Mary was married to William of Orange, and most importantly, she followed Parliament's exact religious creed. They figured they just had to be patient.
But, as we know, history rarely goes exactly as planned, does it? Just when Parliament thought they had the whole thing figured out, we get the ultimate plot twist. So what happens when a sudden, completely unexpected arrival shatters an entire nation's waiting game?
Boom! The baby prince crisis of 1688. King James's second wife suddenly gives birth to a healthy baby boy, throwing Parliament into absolute chaos. By the strict rules of succession back then, a male child automatically jumped the line, taking priority over his older sisters. This baby boy would be raised in the king's faith, which meant Parliament was suddenly staring down the barrel of a permanent, absolute monarchy. The waiting game was officially over.
In a completely desperate move, 7 brave English leaders sent a secret invitation across the sea to Mary's husband, William of Orange. They basically said, "Bring your army and save us." When William's massive rescue fleet actually landed in England, King James had a really tough choice to make. Now, James was stubborn for sure, but he wasn't credulous. He wasn't easily fooled into thinking his shrinking, terrified army would actually fight for him against this massive incoming force. He realized his top generals were deserting him left and right, he had zero credit or trust left among his people, and his position as ruler was simply no longer credible. So, without fighting a single major battle, he threw his royal seal into the river and fled to France. It was a totally bloodless victory.
Because this massive shift in power happened without major bloodshed, it became known as the Glorious Revolution. But Parliament wasn't taking any chances this time around. Before officially handing the crown over to William and Mary, they made them sign the English Bill of Rights in 1689. You can think of it as an official certificate of governance. And this wasn't just some piece of paper, it permanently limited royal power, guaranteed free speech in Parliament, and ensured that no king or queen could ever rule by absolute decree again. The world had officially changed forever, laying the real groundwork for the democratic freedoms you and I rely on today.
Part 1. The Secret Word Lab, Cracking the Latin Codes.
Seriously, what an incredible story of power, strategy, and revolution. Now, did you happen to notice those really powerful words we were using along the way? Let's crack their Latin codes. First up is certify, which means to confirm formally. Think back to our story when the paranoid Parliament demanded officials legally certify their faith in writing, just to keep their jobs. They literally had to prove it was absolutely true.
And that brings us to our very first root tree. The secret Latin code right in the middle here is CERT, which simply means sure. Whenever you spot cert hiding inside an English word, it's giving you a massive clue to its meaning. If you are certain, you know it for sure. If you ascertain something, like when King Charles tried to ascertain peace, you are finding it out for sure. And a certificate, like that famous Bill of Rights, well, that's just a document proving something for sure.
Okay, now let's look at another massive word from our history mystery, credentials. These are documents proving your qualifications or your identity. Remember those royal officials whose livelihoods were literally on the line? They had to show their religious credentials to the government just to stay employed.
And that unlocks our second magical root, CRED. And Latin cred means believe or trust. Credit is public trust, something King James completely lost at the end there. If something is credible, it is able to be believed. And if a secret deal is incredible, like Charles sneaking around taking French money, it is literally impossible to believe.
Here's a really fantastic word you can add to your vocabulary right now. Credulous. It means you are way too ready to believe things or that you're easily fooled. But remember our story? King James II was incredibly stubborn, but he was not credulous. When he saw his own army running away, he wasn't fooled for a second into thinking he could actually win.
Wrapping up the cred tree here, we have credentials, which make people believe you're qualified for the job. We have credulous, meaning you believe things a little too easily, and we have credence, which is the acceptance of something is true. Remember, Parliament gave absolutely zero credence to the king's lies once they figured out his tricks. Cred is the ultimate root for trust and belief.
Mission accomplished, everyone. Not only did you just conquer the thrilling, high-stakes history of the Glorious Revolution, but you also mastered the secret Latin codes, cert and cred, hiding deep inside the English language. That officially makes you both historians and master codebreakers.
So I want to leave you with a quick challenge. Now that you actually hold the keys to these Latin roots, how might these historical secret codes help you unlock the meaning of completely unknown words you encounter in your everyday reading? Keep your eyes peeled for cert and cred out there in the wild. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep exploring.